Hello everyone, my name is Cecil Scott, and welcome to another one of my reaction videos. Today we're going to be reacting to a show as I normally like to do on YouTube, whether it be anime or tokusatsu or something else, but at the beginning of every single one of my reaction videos you're going to see this little video is going to play as a disclaimer to you, the viewer. A lot of people on YouTube like to do reaction videos and put the footage of whatever they're watching in their actual video. They'll do little tricks to sort of distort it, whether it be brightening it or making it transparent or playing with the volume, all sorts of little tricks that they do to try and put the footage from whatever they're watching in their video so you can follow along with them, but they can also avoid a copyright claim or strike. I personally choose to not put footage from whatever I'm reacting to in my videos. Instead, what you're going to see is we're going to have a handy timer in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and that timer is going to be there so you can follow along with where I'm at in whatever I'm watching. So all I ask you to do in my reaction videos as the viewer is to just pull up whatever we're watching on your own screen and just sort of format it however you like, wherever you want to put it, so that you can watch me alongside with what we're watching, and that way I can avoid the risk of copyright claims or strikes and having my channel taken down, and you as the viewer can watch the episode of whatever we're watching in its full unedited glory, and we can enjoy the show together. If that's something that you don't vibe with and you'd rather watch a reactor that puts the footage into their actual reaction videos from whatever we're watching, or if you want somebody who doesn't like stop and pause, because I do that too, I'll stop the video and you'll see the timer will stay where it is while we talk about something that I have a thought I want to share. I'm never going to take offense to you going and watching somebody else's reaction channel, whether they have a different style of reacting or they just put the footage in. You're never going to offend me. The only thing that will ever offend me is if you comment on my videos saying that I should put the footage into my videos. I have done this in the past and it has not worked out for me, and it is not a risk that I'm willing to take as a content creator, so all I ask you to do as the viewer is to respect that wish and decision and to just pull up the episode on your own screen however you choose to do so you can follow along with me. That being said, I hope you enjoyed today's reaction video. Hello everyone, my name is Cecil Scott, and welcome to my reaction for episode 1 of Kamen Rider Gotchard. After that disclaimer at the beginning of the video, I'm going to assume that you've already taken the time to pause the video and get the episode set up on your own screen so that you can start and watch the episode alongside with me. We're going to do a 3, 2, 1, go countdown, and when I say go, I'm going to hit play, and hopefully you'll hit play along at the same time so you can watch the episode with me, and a timer will appear in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, so that way if I do pause the video and stop and talk about things, you can also follow along and resync with me, and if we hit play after talking in the middle, I will do another 3, 2, 1, go countdown, as I said in the disclaimer for this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with episode 1 of Kamen Rider Gotchard. I am going into this blind, and I have no expectations, and I have very limited experience with tokusatsu in general, especially superhero tokusatsu. So yeah, that's about all the background knowledge I think you need for me. The version of the episode I am watching is a fan subtitled version that is 23 minutes and 11 seconds long, so do with that information what you will so you can find the right version of the episode that I'm watching. Pull it up on your own screen and let's get started to watch the episode. So here we go with my reaction and review to episode 1 of Kamen Rider Gotchard in 3, 2... let's try that again. In 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, okay. So we're getting right into it. We're starting off with some action. Oh, that was a very cool sound effect. Okay. The key to the door of darkness. Okay, so these are our villains, I'm going to guess very clearly. I love the costume designs. Very simple but effective. A key to governing life and death. A key of hope. Oh, she's pissed. Okay, cool. What the hell? That was like a luchador wrestler? And then he's using like a string of ants as a whip. That is... okay, this is cool. So this guy like summons spirits to fight for him? She can just flat out, like, grab them and disable them. That's crazy. A fucking train. The Ouroboros realm. Interesting. Oh, this is cool looking. Whoa! Okay, I see the word rider on the front of the train. Oh, that's cool. So they're like... So all these spirits are in, like, cards. Oh, that is cute. Do you hear the voice for the grasshopper going, Hoppa? That was a very cute voice. I like that. Gives mascot vibes. What a tone shift. Okay. That looks interesting. It looks like it could be tasty, but also sus. I'm gonna guess it was sus. Hotaro. Okay. Occasionally you might see me stop and write things down just so I can remember names of characters. Or you might just see me look away for a second just to write something down really quickly. Okay, so... The main kid's name is Hotaro. So this must be his mom. Oh, interesting. The dad's face is obscured. That, to me, is like... Red flag, the dad's gonna be a plot device at some point. Otherwise, why would they obscure his face? Minato. They are really driving home the stick for this show. Really, dude? Watch where you're going. Oh, that's a cool ring. Oh, and they focused right in on it. Okay. So this girl's gonna be important. Okay, so her name is Kudo. What is that cloth thing that he has on the side of his outfit? Huh. Ichinose. Okay, so his name is Hotaro Ichinose. I mean, there is some truth to that, but not really. Uh-oh. Okay. Alright. I've seen this trope before. Well, that was kind of rude. She could have just answered the question. She didn't have to knock him. Kajiki, okay. Kajiki. I want to write that down before I forget it. Okay, so he's like the weirdo best friend character. The hell? Oh, something's going on. There's something up with this girl. Between her ring... Yep, there we go, and she's using the ring. Oh, that's cool. I like that. It almost reminds me kind of... I've only seen like the first episode or two, but of Mashal a little bit. You know, sort of like a shonen-y magic sort of thing. Like, it's like very formulaic looking is the way I wanted to describe it. Oh, I like his sneakers. Dude, those are cool sneakers. Those actually really stand out with his outfit. So I wonder if sneakers are something that's not regulated by like school systems in Japan, as far as like uniforms and things go. Because I would think they would also have like a dress code for shoes, but those looked very like vibrant. They stuck out. Does that make sense? So I don't know if that's like a liberty they're taking that's unrealistic or... Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause right there at the 7-minute mark so I can talk about a couple things. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's fun. I just want to sort of gather my thoughts for a few minutes and just gather what I think about the episode so far, as well as make some observations. So I do like how the episode is going so far. I like our protagonist. He seems naive, is a good way to put it. Very innocent. He seems like, it's ticking a lot of boxes that I've seen in video game protagonists, because I play a lot of JRPGs as well as in different like shonen anime, where he seems like he's very naive. He's got big dreams. He just doesn't know what they are yet. And he seems like he sticks out like a sore thumb from the rest of his classmates. So you've also sort of got the misunderstood trope, if that makes any sense. Like they're very carefully putting the pieces in place so he has the underdog mentality, if that makes any sense. I have a feeling, this is... In college, I was a creative writing major, so one of the things that I studied when I took fiction narrative was something called the hero's journey. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's basically this formula that is used in everything from Star Wars to Sword in the Stone, whatever you can think of, that's sort of like a fictional journey where a character goes from zero to hero, to use a Hercules term. You've got a character who starts off as like nothing or a loser or an outcast, and then they sort of gain their powers, they evolve as a person, and then they basically save the day at the end of the journey. And along the way, you have ups and downs, you have peaks and valleys and valleys, you've got a supporting cast, you've got a B plot, all sorts of things that you can expect to see in typical classic storytelling. And they're definitely sticking to that formula so far. I do think it's interesting that the fantastical character so far, at least, is the girl. Her name was Kudo. And I like that there's sort of this parallel between the two of them where they seem to be similar, but also very distinctly opposite, if that makes any sense. He's sort of, not dumb, but he's sort of very, he's a daydreamer, but they're also comparing her to him as like a daydreamer, but she's actually not. She's very smart as a whip, and she's sort of got it all together. She seems like she's the popular, cool, smart, pretty girl who's got her shit together, but she's a little bit pissy. I mean, we've seen this trope in a lot of different anime. When I think of the fact that they talked about, like, she has ancestral tradition, something rooted in her family as far as, like, her career goes, the first thought I had was of, like, Yuki from Persona 4. She's even got that sort of traditional Japanese hairstyle with, like, the bang and the long hair, like, shoulder length. She's got a very classic appearance, if that makes any sense. So I think they're sort of invoking that on purpose. But between the two characters, she is the one who's actually fantastical. She's got the ring with the blue gem on it. She's summoning up this door she's disappearing into. So clearly she is the special one, the magical one, whatever word you want to use to describe her. While he is the very ordinary character, which is interesting because it's like she's pulling him into her world. She has created this sense of intrigue. He's interested in her, but he's drawn to her, but he's also opposite by her. It's like repelling forces that are also, how they say opposites attract. So, he's chasing her down to sort of chastise her and being like, hey, you went too far. Like, what the fuck? You sort of, like, embarrassed me in front of all my classmates and everything. Like, that was too much. Like, you could have just answered the question and went on, girl. And instead he finds out she's this sort of fantastical person, and now he's being sucked into her world. So I do think that's very fun. It does create a sense of intrigue, while sticking to sort of the classic tropes of shonen, is the word I'm just going to use to describe this. But it's able to keep it fresh and still keep the audience invested in the storyline, if that makes any sense. So we'll see what happens. We've got a lot of classic, stuff going on here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me see where I'm at with my camera, because I like to write that down too. So around the 12-minute, 40-second mark, we'll say. That's what I need to remember when we start back up for my footage. All right, so let's go ahead and get started at the 7-minute mark. Again, let's keep watching more of the episode in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so now he's encountering the monster or whatever that his friend was going on about. Oh, this is cool. I like that it's such a simple effect, like the green lighting is making this seem like a supernatural encounter. Like, it adds to the scariness. It's because it's the grasshopper. Okay, that makes sense. That's very thematic. And these cards, I like the idea of the cards, because this is something that I've seen done before in other series. But it also makes it very marketable. It's very smart for, like, kids. Kids love collecting cards. I mean, adults do, too. Okay, so the name of the episode is Gotcha, Hopper1. So this poor kid, he's gonna see, like, both of them, because he's already had an encounter with the grasshopper, because it made all the sounds. I'm assuming he ran into the grasshopper. But now he's running into the steamliner train, too. So I wonder if they're building him up to be sort of like the sidekick character who's also like an informant, if that makes any sense. Like, he's got the brains behind the operation. Okay, well, so much for superhero activities going unnoticed. Dude, you better move it! Ah! Okay, he almost got his shit smacked. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so they're mixing CGI and real-life props. That was a very well done prop, because it actually took my brain a second to realize I was looking at a prop instead of the CGI model. They were very close looking. And that's a good way to have the actors interact with the, wait, what'd you call it? A Kemi? I have to pay attention. I gotta stop talking so much. Oh, shit! See, she's like the superhero. I wonder if she's going to end up being the hero of the show, like the Kamen Rider Gotchard. You see him in the promotional images. They're like blue and black with like a orange visor almost. Because she's got the blue cape and the blue theme going on. Oh, shit! Oh, this is very cool. She's going like toe-to-toe with the fucking evil spirit train. Okay, maybe not so much toe-to-toe. She needs a little help, clearly. Why would you just stand there, girl? Did she really think she could handle it? Okay, yeah, they're called Kemi. Okay, I gotta write that down. And she's an alchemist. Okay. That's interesting, because they sort of hinted at that theme earlier, too. Because they were talking about alchemy of the Renaissance in the classroom. I thought that was a weird topic to focus on when talking about the Renaissance. Because when I think about the Renaissance, I think more about their advancements in art and science as opposed to alchemy. Alchemy seems more like a niche thing that people don't focus on in history too much. Girl, he's hanging. He could, like, fall and, like, break something. Like, help him out. Don't just sit there and chastise him. She's got some growing up to do, too. Ichino se Hotaro! Okay. Oh, that is cute. I wonder how they did that with the prop. Get it to move while he's hanging. Oh my god, it like... What? It ate him? What the heck is going on? Okay, this is cool. This is the place we saw earlier with the older guy who was, like, beat up. He got into the fight with those, the three women. The two older ladies and the little girl. The villains, I'll call it. Whoa! Okay. Yeah, there's our Ouroboros reference. Ouroboros in classic mythology is represented by... Oh my god, I'm trying to look at also all the cards. There's so much to take in. Ouroboros is represented by a snake that's, like, eating itself, its own tail. It's almost like an infinity ring. Okay, so these things called chemis are inside the cards. Okay. Driver. Okay. Okay, and they're showing back up again. Uh-oh, shit. Where did he pull that sword out of? I never saw him with that when he was walking up to Ichinose. Okay, so now they're knocked back to the real world. Don't just stand there, kid. Do something. Either run or help him. Holy shit, he's getting the shit beat out of him. Okay, this cube diamond double pyramid thing she's using is clearly the key to all her power, because she uses it every time she does something. Oh, he's got a ring too! Just like Kudo had, so he must be some sort of alchemist then. So I'm guessing all the super people, for lack of a better word, the fantastical people in this series are going to be alchemists. Except for maybe this kid, because it looks like he's getting the driver, and the driver's what's going to make him special. Oh shit, look at all the cards. Oh my god, did I just see a skateboard? So now he just went somewhere else in the real world. Okay, so Kamen Rider is like a title. And he just like instinctively knows how to... Does she recognize it? Does she recognize the driver? There it is again, the like skateboard. Is that a fucking motorcycle? So these chemis can be like anything. 101 missing chemis. I want to write that down. There's 101 of them. What on earth is happening? That was crazy good, the way that they seamlessly integrated that CGI. Okay, now we've got another person with a ring who's another alchemist, and they've got a card, but that one looked blank. Okay, I'm going to pause at the 15-minute mark, so give me a couple seconds so I can line it up right. Atropos. Okay, I'll write that down too. But the main villain's name is Atropos, the little girl there. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to pause so we can actually talk more about the episode. So one of the things I have to say is a lot is happening. Like, we are getting character after information. Just action is going on constantly. A lot of the plot is unfolding very quickly with very little time for us as the viewer to digest what's going on. But it feels like it's going at a pace that's not too fast. It's just fast enough that we can still keep up with everything. And if you miss some of the finer details, that's fine. I'm sure they're just going to repeat these things in later episodes over and over again. But it does create a sense of like adrenaline or excitement. Like, you're on the edge of your seat and you don't know what's going to happen because you don't have time to think about what's going to happen next. It's just happening. So we're seeing this come full circle. All the characters that they've introduced are now being introduced a second time. We've got the old man introduced a second time. The villain's introduced a second time. We're even going back to Kudo as her like alchemist form with like the cape, using her ring and everything. She's come back a second time to have a second encounter. So we're sort of approaching, you know, even though we're into 15 minutes of the episode and we're like 3/4 the way through, we're sort of encountering the second run of everybody. So now things are probably going to escalate and get heightened even more. But the story premise so far, I do like this. The driver is what he called it, right? The sort of, the belt buckle that he like instinctively snapped around him, which is interesting to me because it makes me wonder how they're going to go with him. We saw like a glimpse, almost like a silhouette of what he's going to look like, which is what I did see in the promotional image for the show. The promotional image for the show that I saw before I started watching it, obviously, was of this like blue and gold sort of, you know, Kamen Rider-y looking superhero. And not blue and gold. It was like a metallic blue with like orange in the face, with like antennae. And in the promotional image that I saw, there were like a ton of cards. I used it at the beginning of the reaction when I always try to put the title card or the key art or the promotional visual poster at the very beginning when I tell you what episode we're going to be watching. That image, and I'll put it up here again if I haven't already. That's a note to myself, not to you guys, for the editing process. But that I've seen before, and that actually now I know what I was actually looking at. I had the chemis, which are all in their card form, and I will say, one of the things that I like about this episode so far that's really pulling me in and getting me invested in the story has actually nothing to do with the show itself, but something that I can already grasp onto as a viewer that's familiar to me, that I know I already love and enjoy, which is Cardcaptor Sakura. This is really bringing me back to that anime. It is like the first anime I ever got into, like hardcore, where when I was 17 and I got my first part-time job, one of the first things that I did was I bought a DVD box set from Japan, and it was like fan subtitled. I found out later. I didn't know it was not an official subtitle. But it was every episode and every movie of the entire series because I was watching it in dub as Cardcaptors in the US on Toonami. And when I started to look it up on the internet, I saw that like when we got the dub, there were tons of episodes missing and content that was altered, for the Americanization of anime. It's something that they used to do a lot back then. And I really loved Cardcaptor Sakura. I got the DVD box set, like I said, and I had bought like the Cloud book and the cards. So I really loved that show. And I like that this is doing something very similar, if not a spot-on sort of copy of that concept, where you've got these sort of forbidden spirits, the chemis, and they're all in these cards, but now they've been unsealed and they're unleashed into the world, and now our hero's going to have to go and find them all. And 101 is nice because, that gives us a lot of opportunity for episodes. They can really drag this out if they want to. They can really raise the stakes. They can introduce other characters who can get these chemis, and it can become a lot more competitive. I think one of the things that Cardcaptor Sakura in specific, not to compare it too much to it, suffered from was that you never really felt like Lee Shouran, for example, who was the other card captor, the only other card captor, capturing cards with Sakura, you never really felt like he was going to ever become the master of the Cloud cards, because he just captured so few of the actual cards, even if you added up the cards that he got, like, in the movie, for example. It was just sort of one of those things where the stakes were never really there. I mean, the show is called Cardcaptor Sakura. That sort of takes away the illusion that Sakura is not the special one. There's no chance she was not going to end up being the master of the cards, if that makes any sense. Whereas in this one, I still feel the same way. I feel like our protagonist is still going to be the central protagonist. He'll probably end up with all the chemis in the end. But I think with 101 of them versus the amount of like Cloud cards in Cardcaptor Sakura, for example, it gives room for it to be a little bit more competitive and keep you more on the edge of your seat if other characters are introduced who can get the chemis, and I'm just theory crafting there. I will say so far that I am very impressed with the costume design of the show, because everything seems like it has a theme, and it's simple, but it's very effective, and everything still feels fresh. I was talking about this earlier. It seems like they're working with very familiar tropes, but they're using them in ways that feel fresh to us as the audience, which I really appreciate, because that's very hard to do. But I'm not shocked also, because Kamen Rider, along with, series like Super Sentai, for example, those are the big superhero series of Japan. They've been doing this since the 70s. They invented the wheel, so of course they're going to know how to reinvent it time after time after time. And they're right in the heartland of all that media, of Japan, so they can see what's popular in games and anime and everything else, and know what to avoid, but also what works. So it is nice to see that there is a budget for this show, because there's definitely a lot of CGI. Everything from, the portal effects like I'm looking at right now on the screen with Atropos, the main child villain, and her two henchmen, to when the chemis are on the screen. There's a lot of CGI going on, but the CGI is not taking away from the immersion of the experience, because even the sets where they're in somewhere fantastical, it's still so grounded in reality that you still feel a connection to it, so it doesn't feel like there's an over amount of CGI being done. Does that make sense? There's definitely some points where I see CGI and I'm just like, okay, that's a little bit wonky CGI. It sort of takes me out of the experience a little bit, but it's not so bad that I'm like losing the ability to enjoy it. Does that make sense? It's more just like the CGI quality doesn't line up with the scene transition, so now I'm thinking about the CGI, whereas I should just be enjoying it and not thinking about it or noticing it. I should just feel like part of the presence of the show. But that being said, it's not a 100% consistently like wonky experience. For instance, I said this earlier, but that scene where all the Kemis were being unleashed and you saw them like causing chaos in the streets, and we saw like that motorcycle one, that was really well done. Like, I dare say I would have barely noticed that was CGI if I just didn't register in my brain and know that there's no way they could pull that off with a real motorcycle. It looked very well done. So I am excited about the quality of the show. That being said, also the music is very well done. The sound effects are good. They've chosen very good actors to portray these roles. They're just expressive enough to be able to portray subtlety, but also I think the actors and actresses who are playing these characters really know their characters well down to a T, because this feels like nobody feels forced, if that makes any sense. They all feel like they're acting very naturally, which I appreciate. So I don't think we're going to see any inconsistencies in characterization as far as how the actors and actresses portray their characters themselves. But anyways, those are some of my thoughts so far. I just wanted to make those observations. Let's go ahead and continue. We're at the 15-minute and 0-second mark, and I'm going to go ahead and, if I can get my earbuds straight, we're going to go ahead and get started back up in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, her name is Clotho, the one with the ponytail. Or she pronounced it Clotho, because I don't think they have a th sound in the Japanese language, naturally anyway. Okay, so now we've got a showdown with one of the henchmen in them. Oh, and there's a Kemi. You're mine to use. Let darkness consume you. Oh, so that's interesting. So this is how we're going to sort of get our Monster of the Day format. I grew up with Power Rangers, where it was sort of like the villains of the episode. The Kemi mustn't meet with human malice. That's the rule. Okay, malice. Okay, so now we've got another rule to this being introduced. Whereas in Power Rangers, they like made them like out of clay, like, you know, and then they were defeated and then they died and disappeared. Whereas it seems like the villains are able to combine with the Kemis to create our monsters. I love how fast-paced the action is in this. That costume is very well done in the monster, too. It's a very unique take on, like, a mantis. It's almost like a shuriken-shaped head. Did he just name his driver the Gotchard driver? That's interesting. Gotchard, okay. So this is where we get the superhero name. Okay, Hopper1 and Steamliner. Okay, so that's the name of these Kemis. Oh, and he did it! He did the henshin moment! So is he's using Hopper1 and Steamliner to become Kamen Rider Gotchard? And we're seeing them like an alchemy vial. Whoa, wait a minute. This is totally different than what I saw in that promotional image for the show. So he's like this. This is very... The CGI sticks out like a sore thumb, I'm not going to lie. Earlier I was talking about CGI taking you out of the experience, and this feels a little bit... It's cool, but oh boy, does this stick out. Okay, now it feels like it's sticking out less, because it's actually moving and doing things with the characters and environment. Although, whew, those rocks and that rubble are very basic looking, not consistent at all. Okay, so now we've got the other person with the ring, the other alchemy, the one who had the alchemist, who had the blank card. Girl, don't just stand there, do something. Okay, what is happening? Is the driver itself, like, tuning itself to him so he just instinctively knows how to use it? Because nobody's showing him or explaining to him how to use this driver, obviously. So there has to be something innate about him being chosen as the Kamen Rider with this Gotchard driver, where once he's, like, sort of tuned to it, he knows how to use it. Almost like it's speaking to him mentally or syncing up or linking with him. Steam Hopper, okay. This is it. This is the main image that I saw for the show. Like the humanoid figure, not the CGI one. But they still called him Steam Hopper, so I'm wondering if he's going to get different looks. Whoa! What is with the video quality right now? This is the footage itself, not the video I'm using. Wow, that looks like grainy, almost like an old VHS tape. Now it's back to normal. Okay, I like the music. We're playing the theme song. I'm going to back up from the mic a little bit, because I do not want the mic to pick up any of this theme song and get me a copyright claim for the audio being picked up at all, that's for sure. You have to be very careful with theme music and shows. Okay, this is very fun. Okay, now she's doing something, finally. It's like she was shell-shocked before or something. She just stood there and yelled his name. Okay, cool. Come on. Yeah, help him out. Gotchard gun? Is that what they called it? The Gotchard gun. So he uses the cards, the chemis, to charge up the gun, too? Okay, so I'm guessing the gun's gonna get different abilities then, depending on what chemi he uses with the gun. Okay, that's cool. Oh, this is cool music right here. I love this. This is very cool. It almost reminds me of like some sort of high-paced minigame music you'd hear in like Final Fantasy VII's Gold Saucer. Okay, so he's changing freely back and forth between the sort of CGI model and the humanoid. Like, even then, he transferred from the human to the CGI to the human. That was like 3 transformations in like a 1-2 second split to do his finishing move. Where did he get that blank card from? So she knows what a Kamen Rider is. Or she's just saying, this is a Kamen Rider's power. Like, maybe she's never heard of one before. Oh, she is crazy. I love the design. Oh, man, I wish we could have seen it a little bit more. With the action going on, it's hard to really soak it in and look at it. And Kamantis, okay. I'm also noticing they have like little numbers in the corner. Like 2 of them had a 9 and 1 of them had a 1. And where did this dude just come out of? Okay, we've got the red-ringed alchemist, the mysterious one, showing up again. Oh, and it like deleted the photo on his phone. Interesting. So this is going to be like a behind-the-scenes manipulator character we'll see emerge later then? Wait, and he also forgot about it! Oh, okay, never mind. They're going to show up now. Wait! Any memories and records of chemis are to be erased. It's a rule. His teacher. To protect the natural order. Oh, cool. Okay, so he's now... This is supposed to be like the symbol of like their order? 120 years since a human last transmuted with multiple chemis. 120 years, okay. Look at him, he's just like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I'm just a kid. Okay, we got a preview for the next episode. Take a test to become an alchemist. It was a skateboard. So it's a skateboard. The skateboard one that we saw before is in the next episode. Okay, they showed his form, so I'm guessing that's going to be the staple or normal form. Maybe he'll get other forms in the future. Okay, cool. What is that? Like a lab? It almost looks like a lab or a classroom. Okay, and the episode is over. Okay, nice. So, now that we are done with the episode, let's go ahead and share my thoughts on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, I liked it a lot. I am invested in the story. I'm invested in the characters. I think the actors did a great job portraying those characters. There's enough depth and complexity to make there be room for these characters to change and evolve over the course of the story and the plot as the episodes go on, but there's also enough there so that they feel like solid, rounded characters with dimension, thoughts, feelings, morals, values, opinions, and behaviors and ways of acting in different situations, if that makes any sense, both in the real world as well as in the supernatural situations that they get into. So the characterization they've done a wonderful job with on creating the characters in this series. As far as the supernatural part of this goes, there's a lot to take in. That is one of the few critiques I have for the episode, is there's just a lot to take in. There's a lot of plot details. There's a lot of, superpowers. There's villains. There's the overarching plot that's going on behind the scenes. There's the old man who gave him the Gotchard driver. We don't know what happened to him. It looked like he was being burned alive or dying, but we didn't actually see him die. We've got these mysterious alchemist organizations with the rings, which we did see on the finger of the old guy who gave Ichinose the Gotchard driver. We did see a ring glowing for a second, so I have a feeling he's also an alchemist. Those seem to be the main supernatural or super people of the show, while the protagonist himself seems to be the Kamen Rider. So it seems like Kamen Rider is like a title. I haven't watched really any other Kamen Rider series. I've watched maybe, an episode here or there, or I've seen mostly a lot of it on social media, and anything else that I know about Kamen Rider in general just comes from my own research of what I've read, or seen in other media format talking about it. But it seems like Kamen Rider is more of a title. I know that Kamen translates to masked, so it translates to Masked Rider. So I'm guessing each Kamen Rider series sees a different Kamen Rider, and maybe they're all set in a different world or storyline, I'm guessing. So it seems like the title is just something that's passed between the different franchise series. So in this case, we've got Kamen Rider Gotchard. So another one that I know of is Kamen Rider Geats. A couple days ago, I was gifted a figurine from Kamen Rider Geats because somebody knows I've been wanting to watch that show so badly. For my birthday, actually, I got a from SH Figuarts. I got a Kamen Rider Geats figurine for my birthday. So that was one of the shows I considered starting to watch. This is the Magnum Boost form. But yeah, Kamen Rider Geats. So it seems like only maybe the original shows, the hero was actually just called Kamen Rider without some title after the word Rider. So it seems like Kamen Rider is more of a title that is given to sort of these masked superheroes that sort of have an animalistic or insect base to the form that becomes more of a humanoid superhero figure. So I do like the design a lot, I will say that. I really love the Kamen Rider Gotchard design. I think this one they called it Steam Hopper, it seemed he was using a combination of Hopper1 and Steam Liner in his Gotchard driver in the belt. So that makes me think, number one, maybe we're going to see different forms or variations of his hero outfit in the future, and that way he'll be given different abilities or powers. And I think that's probably going to be most likely only because you also saw him switch freely between his superhero form, which I'm going to use to refer to his humanoid figure, and when he turned into the more CGI spirit animalistic looking form, where it was just a flat out combination of what a grasshopper and a steam trainer would look like, and he was bouncing around almost as a spirit and using powers in battle to fight as well. So the fact that he can freely switch between those two makes me think that maybe what will happen is the hero figure itself will stay the same, but the CGI figures will change. So if he uses different cards, maybe we'll just see a different CGI model, and that's how he'll use different powers. Or I'm thinking perhaps maybe the Gotchard gun, because he did use the Steamliner Chemi card on the Gotchard gun, and that allowed him to fire different blasts. So maybe that's how they're going to switch up his powers, but maybe they'll keep the base form looking the same. I think it would be more fun and interesting if we got to see different looks for the Kamen Rider Gotchard, but I guess we'll just have to wait and find out in the next episodes to see if that's the case, or if it's just the powers that are going to change, like I said earlier. I do like the supporting cast. I think, what was his name? Kajiki? I think he is probably the weakest character of the cast so far. He's the only one that seems like it hits the trope on the head so hard of the token best friend, weirdo, crazy-looking character, between the glasses and the way that he walks and runs and his mannerisms, and he's all over panicky, and he's super enthusiastic about things that make him such a social outcast and weirdo. It's going to be hard for me to like him. I'm hoping that they do more with him in later episodes so that his character also changes and evolves, but because he's part of the supporting cast very clearly, I don't have much of an expectation for him. I think I'm just going to have to get used to him over time. But it is interesting because I almost wonder if they're not even going to use him that much, if this was maybe just a way for them to sort of hype the audience up and have somebody to connect with on the outside, because he's also on the outside of everything. Just for this first episode, maybe he was like a throwaway character and we won't see him again. But something tells me it would be a missed opportunity for them to not use him more, just because it seems like his character in general seems to be attracted to things that are like the supernatural or the occult or monsters. So I could see his character becoming useful if he's almost like a mental encyclopedia of references to draw upon, if that makes sense. This could be a character that could come to the aid or support of the Kamen Rider Gotchard or Ichinose in different fights, but I don't think that's going to be the case because, as we just saw with this episode, the rule is any interactions people have with the chemis, both the records and the people's memories get erased, which is, that's a little bit controversial to me. I don't know if I like that or I dislike that. I understand the logic behind it because you don't want people to like create mass panic and freak out because of the existence of these things. You probably want to keep them pretty hush-hush, but at the same time, that's gotta be a lot of effort. That's a lot of damage control. I mean, how many people did we see in the city in that one scene alone when the 101 chemis were unsealed by Atropos, and they unleashed hell upon the whole city? Like, how many people do you think they had to track down to wipe their memories, and also look for any evidence and just erase it and wipe it? Unless, they have some sort of ass-pull moment where they have like a citywide spell that they can just use, and in the blink of an eye, any of that evidence is specifically targeted and just handled. Which could also be the case, you never know. But I do think because the memories get erased, that's going to eliminate Kajiki from becoming a more useful support character, unless it's through accidental means, if that makes any sense. As far as the character goes, Ichinose he's very tropey. He is very generic. He's naive. He's happy-go-lucky. He's very positive. There's nothing about him that makes him super unique as a character, except for how they're tying him into the shtick of the show, the gotcha, They're really using that catchphrase a lot. I heard gotcha and go when he was like transforming and doing stuff and powers in battle. You've got the gotcha moment as part of his daily life when he's looking for, his dream, making bento boxes, even interacting with his teacher. It seems like he's sort of got this weirdo thing going on where he's saying gotcha for no reason, and everybody just sort of knows that's the weird kid's thing. He says gotcha. So it seems like that's what makes him less generic and more unique and memorable, is how they're tying him into the sort of shtick of the gotcha that they're shoehorning into the show. So I will be excited to see if he will change in other ways that makes him less like a generic shonen protagonist who's going to go through the hero's journey, and more unique to himself, so that after the experience is done, when we watch all the episodes of the show and we look back on this someday when we're watching other series and we go, oh, that's what really made him stand apart from other characters and protagonists and shows, and that's what I liked about him and made him distinctly him. That's what made his character distinct from other characters. Does that make sense? So I'm hoping that they do use him and transform him more so that he gains more of his identity beyond the generic shonen hero's journey tropes. But we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, it's only episode 1, and at the time of this recording, I know that there's like 41 or 42 episodes out, so we're just going to have to wait and see. The show is still ongoing, so I'm excited to see how things escalate as the show progresses. The main villains were also a little bit weak and flat. I think the most interesting thing about them was their character design. Their powers weren't super interesting. It was connect with the monster, become the bad guy of the day, the monster of the day, monster of the week. I think that's the term that they used in tokusatsu to refer to that. They used that for like Power Rangers too. That week's episode, there's going to be a monster, and this is the monster of the week. It seems like the villains are going to transform with a chemi. They combine with them, and they use their malice to transform it into some sort of dark entity to create that monster. And defeating them frees the chemi, and then they can get the chemi in like a blank card. Very Cardcaptor Sakura-esque. The chemi goes crazy, subdue it somehow through battle or, strategy or other means, and then seal it in a card back so it's in a card form, and then be able to use it in the future. Very straightforward, effective, simple, wonderful. We don't have all these complex rules we have to remember how they can subdue it. It's just very right there. It's very marketable, like I said earlier, which is very smart of them. I'm sure they're going to sell a lot of merchandise. I would not be shocked if I looked online and they're straight up just selling like card sets that come in like waves, similar to like Yokai Watch did their medals or something. throughout different cores or sections or arcs of the show. They probably release different card sets. And then you can probably use those to interact with the toys. One of the critiques before I started watching the show, when I was doing research in general on Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai, for example, was that they said that, when you're looking at pros and cons, was that Kamen Rider seemed to be more story focused and based, whereas you focused more on an individual hero, whereas Super Sentai, for example, focused more on a team building, and team cohesion. And it seemed like the general consensus was that Kamen Rider was less rigid in its structure and format, so it gave it more fluidity to have more darkness in its story, to have more complexity, while Super Sentai felt like it was more restricted by its format, which was ultimately made me decide on watching Kamen Rider first as I start diving into tokusatsu versus the Super Sentai series. I do plan to watch both and dabble in different formats and shows and series and franchises, but I can definitely see how that would be true. However, one of the things that I saw that was a pro for Sentai versus Kamen Rider was that one of the things I read online was that Super Sentai was more subtle and less in-your-face and obvious about the fact that the show is there to sort of market toys and to get kids to buy toys, whereas Kamen Rider, everything feels like a product placement so far, I have to say. Even the Hopper1, when they switched from the CGI model to like a prop, like a physical prop, it was very well done. It looked spot on, like the CGI model. It took my brain a second to realize, I'm like, oh, he's holding a physical prop. This is not a CGI model. He's interacting with something physical. But at the same time, when I'm looking at the design of that physical plastic prop, I'm just like, this is going to sell a toy somewhere. I just know it. Some kid's going to buy this replica to scale Hopper1, and they're going to pay like the equivalent to American $60 to get it. The belt looked like a toy. It looked less like a high production action prop, and it looked more like a toy you would actually see a replica of. So I think all the things that we're going to see, from the cards to the Gotchard driver to the gun, everything's going to be probably a spot on replica of what a toy would look like from the show in a store for somebody to go buy. Whereas I think in American terms, you would probably see in like a big Hollywood production for like a Marvel movie, for instance, if a hero used something that was like a tool, the toy would look like a generic version of that, and it would look more fantastical in a film or a production or an adaptation. And then whatever you see in a store does not ever look exactly like it would in the film. Whereas that's something different. While the show seems like it's more in your face about marketing toys to kids, it seems like it's really there to sell you some products. The fun thing about that is even if it cheapens the on-screen experience by making it look very obviously like a toy, that's more fun for the consumer, whether that be an adult who's a collector or a kid who's buying these to play with them and have fun with them. What you see in the show is what you get when you go out and buy it in real life. I'm assuming. It could not be the case. For all I know, maybe the toys look better than what they have in the show, or vice versa. But that's just my guess so far. So I have noticed, I guess my point is that the critiques I'm seeing online with both the pros and the cons for this show, all of them were present. I am seeing a little bit more of what feels like in-your-face marketing, not by saying go buy this, but like it feels like it is a toy in front of your face on the screen as opposed to a high-production prop. Which actually doesn't bother me at all, because like I said, I think that's actually, I would rather a show be honest. One of the reasons why Yu-Gi-Oh! Got so heavily censored in the way that the show was presented when it came to the US, if anybody's done any research on that, when Yu-Gi-Oh! Came over here and they first started dubbing it, was because we had very strict laws about marketing to children, and the entire show's purpose of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was to sell you the fucking cards. So they had to sort of tone it down a bit, and they had to change the language and the formatting and the commercials and how they advertised it, because it was really like watching the show makes you buy the cards. The show purely exists to make you buy the card game. So I would actually rather a show aimed at like kids or that younger age be more honest in what it's trying to do and accomplish, because it's like, either way, you're gonna know they're trying to sell you a product. Does that make sense? Like, this isn't Berserk, this isn't Neon Genesis Evangelion, this isn't some high production story that is like epic and is here for all time, and it's gonna be a classic that stands, the weight of storytelling around the world. This is very direct. This is high fun action. It's simple, it's stupid, and I like it. So I would rather they not try to mask that, because I think it insults the consumer, if that makes any sense. Like, we're gonna know you're trying to sell us a toy or a product, even if you tried to hide it. So why not just be more honest and open about it and be in your face, so that way we can just get it over with and get to the good stuff, which is what I feel like they accomplished, and they did. So overall, I would give the show, the first episode anyways, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I quite enjoyed it. I liked the characters. While the characters did feel like I could sort of guess the tropes that inspired them and how they're being written, I do, like I said earlier, I feel like there's room for growth with everybody, and we're just going to have to wait and see how they evolve into becoming more distinctive, unique characters when they experience character growth through their stories of the episodes. And knowing that the critique online that I was reading was that Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai Kamen Rider has more story attached to it, and it can get more dark, that gives me more faith that the characters will evolve to become less rigidly written, and they will become something that by the end of this journey is hopefully not unrecognizable, but is vastly different from where we start at point A in the beginning of the show. But anyways, those are my thoughts. That was my reaction to episode 1 of Kamen Rider Gotchard. I'm excited to keep moving forward and see more of the series. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought of episode 1. And thank you once again for being just cooperative in general. It's been years since I've done reactions on YouTube. I haven't done this in a long time, and I have no idea what the atmosphere is going to be like when people come watch the video and they enter the comments, if people are going to be hostile and be like, what do you mean everybody puts the footage in their episodes nowadays? What do you mean you can't adapt with the times? I just personally, I'm an old school dog. I want to just avoid any hassle or any controversy or any risk to my channel, so I do appreciate everybody just cooperating and pulling up the episode on your own screen, as I said in the disclaimer that you're going to see in every one of these reaction videos. But I had a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the show. I will see you guys next time, so until we meet again in the next episode, bye-bye!